Hello and welcome everybody back to the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs. I'm Mitch Leslie. I'm joined by Matthew Morello, and today we continue in our double elimination bracket. We'll be sending two teams home today, and we'll be deciding our teams now moving to the upper bracket finals. A lot to be decided today, Matthew, but quickly, let's have a fun look back over yesterday and take a breath before we see what's to come, as we have our winners bracket results with Philly, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Atlanta advancing.
Yeah, the LA Valiant, they advance. We do not see the Gladiators advance. They lose at the hands of the Philly Fusion. The big match yesterday, right, was Shock versus the Justice, which if you were just kind of tuning in, you'd be like, how is this a thing? How is this the biggest match? It was massive because Washington was playing great at the time. They take it to Game 5. They don't get the win. So this is how we end up in the loser bracket today. The first match you'll have is the Gladiators and the Florida Mayhem, and then the second match will be the Paris Eternal and the Washington Justice.
Yeah, quite incredible, of course, that the Justice get to this point, right? They get themselves a second chance by making it to the double elimination bracket, but this would be their last chance today. They need a victory in that second match, but coming up first, it's going to be the Gladiators taking on the Mayhem. Now, Florida have kind of developed this rivalry with the Los Angeles Valiant, where they've lost in 5-map series twice now, and they go up against the Gladiators, who weren't able to really show their best game against a very stalwart Philly Fusion.
Yeah, the Gladiators did not look good yesterday. I think for the Florida Mayhem, you can talk about how close that series was with the Valiant, really back and forth, could have kind of went either way at the end. The Gladiators really not the same. And what I worry about with the Gladiators is that the Florida Mayhem play a pretty similar style, with the Sombra in the mix, as we saw the Philly Fusion play. So how are the Gladiators going to adjust their style to fit this and kind of play better against this type of comp? That's what you're looking at today. But to make such a big adjustment over the course of what amounts to basically 24 hours, pretty tough.
And of course, Birdering took a little tumble at the end of the game. We've been informed, of course, by the Gladiators that everything's fine. He saw a doctor, staying very well hydrated, and is ready to play today. The Florida Mayhem are definitely stinging after their loss against the Valiant. It's not the first time it's happened recently. They were able to showcase a really impressive performance, I think, especially from BQB. Looked great over the whole series. Chris gets to play a lot more now. He's not being subbed out for Byron, because we see much more of this mobile Lucio Moira setup. And I feel like, the Mayhem are pretty well suited in this current meta to show some of their best sides.
They are. I think Gargoyle, right, can shine on any of those off tanks. I think this does put a lot of pressure onto Fate, on the Winston. Being able, whether they're playing against a Roadhog comp, stay alive, kind of dive the backline, access that, or just kind of make the right calls when you're playing kind of the dive mirrors to each other. So I think a lot of the pressure here falls on Fate. I think we know what we have now in terms of BQB and Yaki, in terms of damage dealers. I think they're both going to bring it in this series. And I think they'll be pretty difficult for the Gladiators to stop.
Yeah, coordination becomes much more important now that you're not playing around this robust, forgiving double shield style. You really have to be on the same page when you're making risky dive attempts, especially against teams who bring, Reaper in as a secondary DPS. Reaper might actually prevent Birdering and Yaki from showing off their prowess. Birdering in the hit scan direction, Yaki when it comes to things like the Genji, which won't be played very much, or the Pharah, which may make an appearance. So more of the focus shifts towards the Sombra on both of these sides, their ability to take the game over.
And I think as the playoffs go on, you'll start to see more teams go towards the Sombra comps and play that kind of fast, aggressive style, because I do think kind of it wins out at the end of the day. I think for some teams, though, it's just been really difficult to get that coordination and kind of get that down against like a Roadhog comp, because the Roadhog comp can be pretty punishing if you don't get it down perfectly.
Yeah, really unpleasant for Winston to deal with Roadhog in general, and we will be beginning on Busan. It's loser pick in this first to 3 series, so no other maps have been locked in yet. It will be beginning here, and we get a look at both teams' compositions. We probably wouldn't be too surprised to see this from the Gladiators. Now, if we actually see Florida go away from, maybe they play a Sombra Tracer. We have seen quite a few teams go for that approach. That probably lets Yaki shine a little more than if he was on Reaper duty. This permutation is interesting, though. BQB Reaper, Yaki on the Sombra.
Yep, it'll be a mirror for both teams. So you can get... Look, Reaper is good when Sombra's in the mix, because when Reaper gets hacked, it doesn't really change anything about what he can do.
Just means he has to stay committed, right?
Yeah, I mean, you lose your movement abilities, right? Like, I guess like a little bit of immunity with Wraith Walk, but doesn't lose all that much, and he can be quite punishing to the Winston. So you see Fate take a few shots there from Birdring, has to use a jump to back out. Now it'll be a contest on the point.
Now, minimal poke damage available to the Gladiators, so the Mayhem aren't punished too much from filtering through that smaller aperture, we'll say. Yaki already at 60% of that EMP, Kevster at 55 right now, and here's an early coalescence, and this is how the fights get started. Gangnam Jin lets it go from the back line and is able to keep Fate topped up, and Space will be desuited early on in the fight. This is where BQB starts to hurt a little bit more, and those offensive biotic orbs can actually get the job done.
Yeah, and Shaz ends up burning that coalescence that he earns towards the end, where you didn't really have a good chance to win that fight. So it'll be the Florida Mayhem who take the point first. They take a lot of poke damage on the way in, and they just kind of play around that pillar. The point's not even unlocked, so there's nothing for them to really play for. But that allows Gangnam Jin to farm up his coalescence. And I mean, look already, both Moira's just use it. He's already, you know, he's gonna get this coalescence so fast. He's gonna jump up to like the 70% as soon as we start to get any type of fight come down.
This may be a tale of two EMPs here. The Gladiators might want to preempt the Mayhem if they can get a wide-ranging EMP to start the fight. Right now, though, that seems pretty tough. They've been corralled off to the left-hand side of the map with the Primal Rage of Fate compounding the issue somewhat. He's controlling the space as OG tries to jump on top of the drum. And Yaki giving a respectful distance now, looking for an opportunity to set this EMP up properly. But Kevster's going to be first. It's combined with the self-destruct here. Gargoyle able to get back in the mech. And there's a death blossom from BQB, but no one really affected by it here. There's still a mech up for Gargoyle, so most of that damage is shut down by the defense matrix. The trade comes in, and Birdring is falling. See what can be done in his absence.
Well, Yaki's going to use the EMP here as he still have Birdring and Yaki on the point. Gargoyle there as well, as the Florida Mayhem, they'll be able to win this in the end. They hold on to that EMP until basically the final moments. They have 3 players alive. Chris now back off the spawn. And they're able to get a fight win at the very last moments for what seemed like the Gladiators able to flip the point. Now the Gladiators come back, just Coalescence. You'll have a Coalescence for the Florida Mayhem as well. This self-destruct has to be good from space, or else it's going to be first point to the Florida Mayhem.
Self-destruct against a composition that has a lot of built-in immunity and escape mechanics. It's going to be extremely hard for Space to get anything with this. 99%, we're into overtime now. Kevster's already going to be forced back by the Coalescence of Gangnam Jin, but Shaz has one of his own. That's at least going to keep the Gladiators in the fight for now. But now those Coalescences are gone. Birdring Glow and BQB fight 3 with the Death Blossom, and the Gladiators hadn't a response to it. Couldn't get any burst healing from any Coalescence. That was already off the table. Good work there by BQB just to hold on for that moment in the Florida Mayhem. It's a convincing first round here. The Gladiators look a bit sluggish to start.
Yeah, so they try and use the self-destruct. They launch the self-destructive space towards the back, and what happens there is with no defense matrix in the mix, Chris speed boosts everybody on just not even that much further up because they're trying to push off the back of the self-destruct and puts BQB in a position where he can do the Death Blossom and pick up a ton of kills. You rarely ever see this. So you take a look from BQB's perspective. Yep, as soon as that self-destruct comes out, the Death Blossom comes through.
Of course, that self-destruct in space was never really going to be able to net too much for the team that could just slip away into the shadows, literally, in some cases. So now over to Mecha Base, and doesn't look like there's going to be any changes from the Florida Mayhem here. It's going to be Reaper and Sombra. Same for the Gladiators.
If you're Florida, why switch? You almost beat the Valiant playing this style the other day. You watch the Gladiators lose to this type of style against the Philly Fusion. I don't think there's any reason until the Gladiators prove they can beat this type of composition that they switch. The Gladiators, they lose OG right away, so this is going to be Florida getting control of that first point.
The Gladiators got 2 kills in that last round, and well, still don't have any in the second one. So Florida Mayhem way ahead right now, and look at this ult building. Now, in fairness, Shaz has been able to get close to a Coalescence just because of the amount of healing he's been forced to dispense. But the Mayhem have a stronger position, and BQB can play from an off angle here.
Big Goose with a ton of healing as well for Lucio at the start, right? Already at 80%.
Wild stuff. He's still less than half of what Shaz is doing, but that's what Moira is going to provide you. Kempster going down early in the fight is extremely bad, especially because the Florida now go way ahead in terms of EMP generation, and they don't have to spend too much of import in that fight to win it. It's primal range and coalescence. 2 ults for a fight win is the absolute standard, and Shaz used his coalescence for nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's huge for Florida, right? Because they were so far behind in terms of sound barrier that they now have a chance to match barrier for barrier here coming up, and Yaki will have his EMP. So you're in a great spot here, again, if you're the Florida Mayhem.
All right, 42% and counting now. Yaki goes for the EMP, but only catches Shaz, who didn't have the coalescence anyway. Big Goose is still able to get a sound barrier, so the Gladiators are not affected by that whatsoever. It's a manual hack on Goose. Rips away the overshield. The Gladiators completely unperturbed by that. They're able to push out onto the point now, but they don't have to spend much at all themselves. This is a big turning point.
I'd love to see that again, because Yaki, it looks like when he went to go get the EMP off, it looks like he got booped up into the doorway, which kind of broke line of sight with a lot of the players of the Gladiators. So it seems to be what happened there. Big play, you know, it's kind of turning out for the Gladiators in their favor. They needed something to kind of go right. That's huge there.
Funny little interaction, 2 cloaked Sombras actually running into each other, or their models intersected with one another, so they revealed each other. Not quite 2 shifts in the night. That is an EMP on a Fate and Gargoyle, who both still get the sound barrier from Chris and Bird. Death Blossom wasn't able to get much done, but Space's self-destruct wasn't. Chris and BQB falling already. OG is playing well outside the bounds of this map, but of course with the reduced jump cooldown, he can make this map his jungle gym.
Yeah, he would add another jump to make it back as well, but it'll be Kevster with a big EMP setup. Okay, so this is from the Yaki one. It didn't even look like, I mean, maybe he was booped by Big Goose.
Goose was behind him. He may have moved forwards and into the corner. A little bit hard to tell from there. It's a manual hack on towards Fate now as the coalescence from Shaz forces the Mayhem away. And now the Gladiators will move into the lead. 62% to 60, with Gangnam Jin falling early in that fight in space. Honestly happy to give up the health of his mech to ensure a clean win. Maybe the Florida Mayhem try and strike now before he can get back in, but he's 55 already to a new mech.
Oh, absolutely. If you're Florida, you try and strike now with no Diva mech from space, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to just speed boost right into the Winston. There's no defense matrix to help OG there. You see space still not in mech. And that kind of hurts. You'll give up the point here for the Gladiators, but you get up to 90%. One fight is all you need for the Gladiators to tie this up here on Busan. What do you have to work with? Nothing right now, but you can build up that coalescence pretty quick. You have OG really close to a primal, and also, you know, they are in one fight territory, but not are the Florida Mayhem. The Florida Mayhem are going to have to use some ultimates here, so maybe if you can get a quick fight if you're the Gladiators, then come back with a lot of ultimates, you have a better chance.
The Mayhem want to shut space down in this next fight. They have a Death Blossom ready to go. That mech will be a problem if Defense Matrix cancels the damage away. Kempster comes in and comes with the first EMP, and Fate gets blown to smithereens. BQB is able to stay alive thanks to the help of Chris and his sound barrier, and now he lets that Death Blossom go. He's hacked, but again, you don't care about getting hacked if you're Reaper. Your Hellfire shotgun still work just as well. Gargoyle is desuited by Shaz's later coalescence, and the Mayhem are 99% now. The Gladiators try and move to the point, desperately to retake it, but the Mayhem can move in numbers. Space DMX, Big Goose in deep trouble, forced to back away, try and bait an environmental kill opportunity, but no one from the Mayhem biting. Across the point comes the coalescence from Gangnam Jin, and the Gladiators are in deep trouble. They are floundering, and Fate goes for an environmental kill of his own, but Yaki steals it, and that is map number 1. Convincingly in the end, going the way of the Florida Mayhem. A brief spurt, a brief hope for the Gladiators is snuffed out on Mecha Base.
Yeah, in that final fight, what the biggest play is, we see it from a quick second from Space's POV. When he's on the point where we're 99-99, Yaki from the back actually gets a hack off onto him, playing inside of OG's bubble, but once that bubble bursts, there's nothing they can do. That's when Space gets demeched again, and then OG not able to stay alive much longer after that, and Florida just pushes on through. He has that coalescence and secures the point. Good map 1 for the Florida Mayhem. The Gladiators did show, you know, at moments, though, they can contend in this type of dive mirror. So I would not write the Gladiators off completely.
And we have heard as well that there was a boop on Yaki for that EMP just around the door frame. Usually with stuff like that, if it seems fishy, it probably is. So look at this, Big Goose boops Yaki.
Yeah.
He already wound up his EMP animation, and then he comes in with a sound barrier. That is so...
It looked like,
so
a boot by how you would kind of see a player like when we were on board with Yaki and he used it, like he just kind of like leapt forward like in a really fast motion, which obviously is kind of what you would see with a boop. So nice play there from Big Goose.
Yeah, really impressive stuff. The Lucios have to be absolutely on point now because once again, the meta is dominated by the effectiveness of those EMP connections, right? Especially Divas and Lucios right now are under the microscope because they have to avoid having those abilities stripped from them. Especially as we saw, Defense Matrix can be crucial shutting down Death Blossoms, but it was BQB who got the better of the Gladiators in map number 1. Stick around though, Hollywood is map number 2. Much more of this series still to come. Remember, one of these teams is going home today. Which will it be? Hang around and find out.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
What's up, everybody? It's Puckett, it's playoffs, and I'm coming at you from the spawn room for some fun. Are you ready? It's time to play Overwatch Hero Trivia. Here's your question. In Reunion, the Deadlock triplets have tattoos featuring what Blizzard franchise? Is it A, StarCraft, B, Diablo, or C, Warcraft? That's right. The answer is A, StarCraft. Congrats to everybody in the chat who got that one right. And remember, this is just the beginning of action from the spawn room, so stay tuned as we bring you more live from the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this elimination match between the Los Angeles Gladiators and the Florida Mayhem. Florida definitely stinging after their loss to the Valiant yesterday and want to take it out on the other LA team. So far, Matthew, so good.
Yeah, Florida starts off the series really strong, playing a lot of the Sombra Dive compositions. The Gladiators, with their map pick, will choose to take us to Hollywood. So here's a map where you can play the dive. You can also play some more like Roadhog-based compositions, right? We've seen a few teams on defense play the Roadhog to kick things off. Pretty deadly to kind of get through that choke with the the threat of the hook looming on the other side. No substitutions for either team though, so I would probably expect some of the same type of comps. Maybe we have some hit scan thrown into the mix, or you can run like Widowmaker or Ashe if you get the cart and then get to the second phase of the map. But I think is a lot like what we talked about yesterday. I think this meta is really wide open right now.
Absolutely.
It's almost this weekend is almost survive the weekend and give yourself another week to figure out and kind of retool and refine what you're running. Because I feel like a lot of teams, they have some strengths in running the dive, but they also don't have any other looks. Some teams can run the Roadhog, but they don't have any other looks. So I think this week is just kind of, okay, what can we do to get through the week? What can we do to win? Get to next weekend. And then during the week, you have enough time where you can kind of plan strategies for your other opponents specifically and work on some stuff. So it'll be the Florida Mayhem with what it looks like here on defense first. So we'll get a better idea of what they're going to run. Kick things off here on Hollywood.
Isn't it crazy? It's such an interesting way to put it, that these two teams, not only are they fighting to stay alive in the tournament, but they're fighting for more time. Fighting for time for their coaching staff and for themselves to refine the approach to this meta.
It gives you another opportunity to watch some more footage on some of the teams that you play. Yeah, I mean, right now, Florida looks to be playing the Winston's... oh, they're going to play Winston D.Va. Okay, so for a bit, Gargoyle was hovering over the Zarya. This will be Winston D.Va on defense. The Gladiators look to be doing the same thing. Maybe they run the Widow, but I think they're probably going to commit to Sombra here as Kevser is playing the Sombra for the Gladiators.
I really enjoyed in the Chengdu Hunters versus New York match the liberal use of Wrecking Ball Pharah compositions. It's probably asking for a little bit too much to see it here. But you can obviously play that kind of composition if your Wrecking Ball is a literal god.
Yes, I think that's kind of the exception there, is that Eamon is so good at the Wrecking Ball that if you were to try and run like Wrecking Ball Pharah, I believe, like with a team that doesn't have a Wrecking Ball that's good, they would just kind of use Speed Boost and run down the rest of your team. So Gargoyle gets tagged at the beginning from Kevser, which is pretty big, gives them really good point progress early on.
Yeah, lets the Gladiators move in here, but they are going to have to stand their ground and fight for the point. OG uses the jump mostly just for information and some time away from the scrutiny of his opponents, but that's enough time for Florida to move through and get rid of Kevster. Now the disruption of Sombra is unavailable to the Gladiators. They find the rest of them fall over, and Yaki benefits from extra time to generate his EMP, which likely will come first.
Yeah, what's really hurting the Gladiators in these fights is like mid-fight hacks from Yaki onto Space. That time again, they were able to get a hack in the middle of that fight onto Space, so he's going to have to go all the way to the back of the spawn, switch off D.Va, then go back. Yeah. So you'll lose some of this now, but you have to have some kind of idea of where Yaki is and to be able to break some of those up.
If you can in this next fight, keep in a rough eye on where Space is and see how he's trying to avoid Yaki just hacking straight away. Look at this, he gets jumped on, and there it is. Oh man, Yaki gets an EMP on towards OG, especially making it hard for him. There's still going to be a sound barrier in play for the Gladiators here, but Space is demeched already. Fate has Primal Rage, but he's hit with a hack, so can't do too much leaping and jumping about. But BQB is boots on the ground, doing the dirty work, and again the Gladiators are going to be forced back. Birdring will be staggered.
Yeah, it's a huge EMP from Yaki at the beginning of that. So you get the EMP off, and then the Gladiators, they end up investing into the fight. But it's not the worst thing, because Florida, then they kind of double down to secure the fight. They use some of their ults as well. It gives you a Primal Rage Death Blossom here. This is only big if you can get the hack onto Gargoyle, though.
OG, where is he looking first? Maybe if he can sort of pop Chris or something similar. Yeah, he's looking for a support. He forces an early fade from Gangnam Jin and then denies the high ground from the entirety of the Mayhem. The Gladiators now move in now that their opponents are caught in this crucible on the low ground. And OG's going to benefit from the Coalescence healing a little bit. BQB's going to be forced inside the cafe. Birdring tries to go for a death blossom, but is interrupted by Yaki's EMP. That hits 4 players from the Gladiators. And again, Birdring gets manually hacked after the fact. He can't escape. He can only press W. Space is taken down. His mech and himself has been removed. And BQB's ready for the death blossom. Good timing on the EMP to prevent BQB's ultimate. But both teams in sound barriers now, and BQB might want to go forward and hit that Q key. In fact, no, he doesn't need to.
Yeah, you don't even need it. And these fights, they go on for so long that the Gladiators, they've had really, what, 2 good opportunities on the point. They've had the first one where they had the hack on a Gargoyle on the high ground, and then really just this. You see Space doing 360s, just kind of spot checking here, just using his D.Va to farm, but he'll have another EMP for the Florida Mayhem in this fight. 30 seconds left for the Gladiators. This is not looking good.
Yaki could end it all right here for Hollywood. If he can get a large EMP, he goes for it now. It's going to be space affected by that one. He just stands out in the open trying to get healed up by the call lessons, but it's just not going to be enough. There's that Death Blossom from BQB, and it hits Big Goose and Kenster right where it hurts for the Gladiators. And Fate will just keep Birdring out of the fight for now. He also has a Death Blossom of his own, but he's not in a great position to use it. And OG's left out at sea. Birdring tries, gets one, but that's all he's going to have. Big Goose is pushed away from the point, but Kenster's still able to secure overtime. Just for a fleeting moment though, Space is denied entry, he's forced back, hacked, and that will be the round. 81.9% for the Gladiators on point A, and that is all they're able to get.
Yeah, you gotta feel for Space and the Gladiators here, as Florida has just played this to almost perfection. Is just the constant hacks on the D.Va has made it impossible for Space to even like play the game in a way where. No, not that last fight, but the fight before, the one that went for a very long time that we were talking about. Space gets manually hacked by Yaki at the beginning of the fight, and then he gets EMP'd straight away. So he's without defense matrix.
And that rocket booster, so he can't really go between the high and low ground easily.
For what feels like forever. So then they're just kind of stuck in the neutral on the point. They can't engage, they can't back up, there's no movement from him.
Space is just standing there like a pork chop!
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot you could do.
Oh,
you
that
see, kind of propels him like a helicopter towards everybody else.
Oh, it's like blades of glory just pirouetting through the air and cutting a bloody swath through the Gladiators. Now
and this
Florida
is so hard on defense because you have to play this perfectly, right? Like one lost fight is the map. 81% on the point for the Gladiators. I mean, pretty much Florida would have to get what would amount to like just unlocking point A to win.
Yep. It's not a lot. I mean, one good hack from Yaki, not even an EMP, could seal the deal here. Gladiators now, I mean, they had to play perfectly. And that's a big ask for them, considering that they just haven't looked as comfortable or confident playing this style today so far. BQB waltzes on in, red carpet and everything. And he will force at least Space back. Now that Mayhem gets some space, they might opt to take the high ground, but right now BQB's being tended to.
They're trying to farm up Coalescence here. They just play the corner, take damage.
They're going to be first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gangnam's in at 95, 96% now.
Oh, they get
Kev's taken down at the start of the fight, and Gangnam's in sitting at a safe distance, healing and damage in equal measure. And the Florida Mayhem just wash over the top of the Gladiators like an absolute tsunami. And that will be it. The Gladiators at least have space on the high ground to try and stall things out somewhat, but they're at 67.6% and they're counting. And already a blink of an eye, 2 maps to 0 for the Mayhem, and the Gladiators are on their last legs.
That is a fast first 2 maps. A lot of times, like, maybe you don't want the halftime if you're a team. Like the Gladiators desperately need it right now. They need some type of break, some type of reset, because the pace right now of this series is just blistering. The Florida Mayhem are really giving it to him right now, and you could see that develop. They're farming up that Coalescence with Gangnam Jin, but if you're looking from Gangnam Jin's perspective, to the right at the cafe, the damage dealers, BQB and Yaki, had just seen Kebster translocate. They get him out of stealth, and then everybody else for the Gladiators is around that left-hand corner, so there's nobody there to give him healing. And that's how they're able to get the pick on the Sombra straight away.
I mean, the Mayhem looks so good playing this instinctive, this always aggressive, rolling style of player. They play this one very much like a TDM, like a respawn game type that you see in other games. They love just coming in waves and waves, and eventually the Gladiators just get worn down. Those shields need to be held aloft in this next map, otherwise it's going to be all over. The Gladiators will have another map pick, but it's their last map pick for the entire series. We're going to take a deep breath here. It's been a short series so far, but I'm quite sure our experts over at the Game Break desk have much to say, so we're going to hand it over to them, and we'll be back with map 3 on the other side.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
we're here back in the spawn room with a new game called Name That Map. Not only are you supposed to name that right map, but you also got to do it as quickly as you can. You ready? Here we go. We're going to be zooming in to Name That Map. Your first little teaser. It's a bell. It's a ceiling. Do you know it yet? Zoom it out. You got the candles. You should know by now. It's the map Dorado. Everyone in the chat's got this one right. Keep the answers coming, and remember, we got more games from the spawn room and more action here in the 2020 Overwatch League playoffs.
Welcome to your game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves, and to be honest, you didn't even get enough time to get through one tube of Cheez-It Grooves and that, because that was 2 maps and it was quick as a flash, boys. Incredibly one-sided and perhaps kind of surprising after Mayhem not quite looking themselves yesterday, and the Gladiators just not having the confidence we'd expect from them reinforced on Busan.
Yeah, and I mean, that was quite surprising to me in a way, because of course I predicted the LA Gladiators and I thought I did it for good reasons. Obviously it would have been an upset beating the Florida Mayhem, but I thought the Gladiators would put in quite the performance here against the Mayhem and could take it. So obviously so far the LA Gladiators, they've been opting into this Sombra dive mirror with these Winstons going head to head, and it hasn't looked great for them so far yet. Obviously Florida Mayhem have made some roster changes, and now we can see in the Sombra stat card, as Sombra this match, Kevster is is not having a good go of it. You can see in the hacky limbs, 2 hacky limbs for Kevster this match versus Yaki's 13, and you can also see that Yaki has died once on some of this match while Kevster's died 9 times. It's not going too great for Kevster. Obviously, it's a bit of a team issue. You cannot simply blame Kevster alone, but he has gotten picked off very early in some of these fights, and the Florida Mayhem has done a beautiful job of just targeting him down. So the reason why I predicted the LA Gladiators was I didn't want them to opt into this Death Ball Sombra composition in the first place. I was quite happy with them playing Mirror on the Roadhog and maybe opting into some of these wilder compositions. I thought the story of this game would be reminiscent of what we saw between the Washington Justice and the San Francisco Shock. And yeah, sure, Washington Justice, they have Decay. Gladiators don't quite have that same level of Zarya play, but the Gladiators looked fantastic against the Philadelphia Fusion yesterday, and I was quite disappointed actually to not see the Gladiators opt for Numbani as the second map, because even though they lost against the Fusion on the Muddy, they did play the Pharah composition and they looked quite proactive, and it was a very close map that could have gone either way really. So I thought the Gladiators would bring a different style to this game, but they opted into the Winston dive with the Sombra, and it really hasn't looked good for them so far.
Yeah, I really got to question why they've come in. They watched this match between the Florida Mayhem and the LA Valiant, which was a phenomenal match of both teams being incredibly strong. The last thing I would have wanted to do coming into this match is try and mirror them on the compositions that they're obviously very comfortable on. And we saw it again here on Hollywood. They didn't give them an inch. Florida was all over them the entire time. The coordination of how the Reapers and the Sombras are sort of stopping the Gladiators from moving forward. Space and OG, it didn't feel like they could do anything the entire match. And then you also saw that from Kevster on the Sombra. So questionable decisions. I really hope to see a different look from them, because that's what we were praising them for in the pre-show, is their ability to play different metas, different heroes on different maps.
Well, something that worked for the Mayhem clearly was a slightly different look for them. Not in composition, but changing up the roles between BQB and Yaki, Custer. And that's something you want to talk about for your crunch time presented by Cheese It Grooves?
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about this in the pre-show about BQB, how his EMPs had a lot to be desired, and they wasn't really flowing with how the team wanted to play. They've actually made a switch of putting BQB onto the Reaper and now Yaki on the Sombra. So we can look at BQB's stat cards from Reaper in this match, and you can understand why this transition is being made. He is doing so much work, putting in so much damage, and the camera was on him for most of the game. He's just shooting almost for free, just getting time after time, getting value. Yaki's doing a phenomenal job on the Sombra. I kind of question why either of these players weren't on these roles. BQB, known for shooty guns, he's very good at shooting players, while Yaki is a very smart player in the way he plays the game. So I think these roles fit them a lot better, and they look leveled up from what we saw from them yesterday against the Valiant.
Well, we need to see more from the Gladiators, and we might see something different because OG is being subbed out for Mirror, which basically tells us we're going to see Roadhog in our next map, which is going to be Volskaya Industries. Reinforce, is this change going to be enough?
I mean, at this point, it's a bit of a Hail Mary. This is what I wanted to see from the get-go on map 1 or even maybe map 2. But now you're down 0-2. You might win Volskaya on the back of this pick. But even then, Florida Mayhem, they get their own map pick going into map 4. And we might see something like Gibraltar come out. Can you really force the Roadhog on Gibraltar? Or are you going to mirror the Florida Mayhem again with this Winston composition? It's a really tough uphill battle for the Gladiators now. Can they be able to pull it back with the Roadhog? Maybe. We've seen some reverse sweep already in the playoffs, but it's going to be a very tough task for the Gladiators to do so this match. So we'll have to see in the second half.
Well, I think this could be a quick 3. I think I was wrong, boys. I was wrong. I thought Gladiators were gonna... I know, God, it hurts to say it, but it's fine. I admit to it. It's fine. It's my first weekend on the show. I'm allowed it. I do feel like Gladiators are playing Mayhem's game. They're not playing their own game. And I know that's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. And I just thought that they would show us more. But there is a chance we could see a reverse sweep like we did between the Justice and the Shock yesterday. So fingers crossed for a 5-mapper. Let's get intense. We're going to be returning with Uber and Mr. X after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheese It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
everybody, welcome back to the Spawn Room, where we're super excited to tell you about a new Instagram AR game called Race to the Future, featuring our very own Sideshow, who tries to avoid obstacles while riding a hoverboard. Make sure to check out the game on the Overwatch League Instagram page, and also celebrate the Overwatch League playoffs by heading to the Download Center on OverwatchLeague.com to download your favorite team-themed wallpapers, backgrounds, banners, and icons. Let's all share our Overwatch League pride. More Overwatch League playoffs is coming up right now.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Full speed ahead for the Florida Mayhem, both in and out of game by the looks of things here, as they seem to be very comfortable playing an extremely proactive style of Overwatch. Matthew, the Gladiators, on the other hand, look to be completely reeling after the first couple of maps.
It's kind of what we talked about pre-game, and then it's what kind of Scott was alluding to there during Watch Point, is like coming in and running this, kind of mirroring them was like probably like worst thing they could have done. And it's not that the Gladiators are necessarily like bad at the mirror. I think it's just that that's where we see Florida excel. That's where we saw the Gladiators get punished the most against Philly. So to come in with a different strategy, or maybe try and commit to something else a little bit earlier on, could have given them a better chance. Now they bring in Mirror for OG. This tells you they're going to try something different, which at this point, if you're the Gladiators, you have to, right? They kind of push you back with the way that they played the dive, the first two maps. You have to go with a completely different approach here for Game 3.
What is this? Mirror, we have seen him play Zarya, am I correct, or is it Roadhog?
Well, I mean, we could... Mirror does play the Zarya. We've seen Space play Roadhog in the past. We've seen Space play Zarya as well. So I think both these players are just really interchangeable. Could play either one. So you see, the map said Volskaya will be the next map in the series. Potentially the last, as it'll be the Florida Mayhem who start out on defense here on Volskaya.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is our Volskaya Industries fastest map time records presented by Xfinity, and Mayhem actually hold one of the records against the Houston Outlaws. Gone but not forgotten, as Dante posts another cryptic tweet that basically just spells pain. If you want to actually do the math, I've done it for you. So they're enjoying their time off, and the Gladiators are hoping not to have to join them in the sin bin outside of the playoffs. But Volskaya will be their last chance to rack up a W. And the Florida Mayhem hold a pretty comfortable time on this map in general. I think they have a good record. You can see here, 3-3s. That's okay. Gladiators being 1-5-2. There's 2 draws, by the way.
Yeah, this will be the where Florida is on defense here, Mitch.
Oh my God, look at this.
This will be hard. This will be the hardest part, is getting a point A defensive hold, because the Winston is really kind of susceptible. Like if they're going to run Roadhog on the other side. Do we see Ball? Do we see Mirror play Zarya? I think Zarya is probably a little bit more standard. Yeah, and OG plays Wrecking Ball, right? So why sub him out to put Mirror in on Wrecking Ball?
OG's been cryptically teasing that he might play Hog, but we know that's not happening. So there you go. The Mayhem have a top 5 attacking time on every assault map right now. So they like to go fast. The Mayhem, really embodying the Miami Vice field. So it will be Berging on the Ash here. So a little bit of a change up from the Gladiators. See if this sort of puts a bit more pressure on someone like BQB or Yaki.
Yep, and if they try and get these hacks off, they get a hack on a mirror this time. I was going to say they can use the bubbles, but hack on a mirror, you don't have a bubble, they kill Shaz right away.
I mean, you are now playing with a team composition that features a less mobile and more fragile backline in many senses, right? Before, you're playing Lucy and Moira, so getting away from a Sombra or a Reaper isn't too bad. You can boot them away, or you can fade if you're Moira. Now, if you're Ana, you have to eat the sleep dart, or you're in deep trouble. Big use, obviously, you need to dash away, but there's no one airborne to Guardian Angel 2, so you actually have less safety as Mercy based on.
All of that doesn't even matter. If you still have Yaki able to get these hacks for free, and then you just have Chris speed boost everybody in, it doesn't matter. These hacks from Yaki have been tremendous, of just being able to put so much pressure after that on the opponent. That'll be a coalescence from Gangnam Jin, as they did have a few players get low.
Yeah, that looked like a headshot on a BQB, I think, just as he got caught by Mirror. So there it is, a little bit harder for the Reaper to safely find a target, and Birdring was sitting well back. Looked like he was denying himself like a good line of sight, but the Mayhem were trying to play close around corners. Here's an EMP, and Mirror gets caught in the middle of it. He does get given a nano boost, but he's manually hacked after the EMP. Still he can't be taken down. He's charged up. Now he has both his barriers available, and he is absolutely spewing damage into the Mayhem.
Yeah, this is a much better look from the Gladiators. I really like the decision at halftime to come out with this type of strategy. What you're doing wasn't working, kind of trying to mirror them. You come in now, you bring in Mirror, and you're able to take first point here on Volskaya. Now you have Grab, EMP, Whole Hog set up for this next fight. Could be a very fast take here for the Glads.
Well, 6th of September at 12:53 p.m. PT, and Matthew Reginald Morello makes a punt. I can't believe it. There's a graviton surge here for the Gladiators, though, Matt. They might try and lock this one up real quick.
It's playoff time, Mitch. I save all my punts for playoff time.
Next, you'll be wearing a colourful, playful shirt. Go for me.
That won't happen. No.
Well, BQB shuts this down real quick. The EMP set up, and he finds both tanks and removes them instantly.
Yes, I mean, EMP here, right, is pretty devastating. Florida, they get aggressive off of this. They push up, they get some more ultimates. They also get a much-needed defensive stand as the Gladiators were coming in with EMP Grab, which is a huge combo. So now Florida has a little bit of an advantage, right, in terms of ultimate economy as we go in towards point B. 4 minutes on the clock here? It seems like a lot of time, Mitch, but with the way you can snowball with these EMPs, probably like 1 or 2 really good pushes left for the Gladiators.
The preemptive coalescence there from Gangnam Jin and Mirror gets ruined. It's unclear. It looks like Yaki might have manually hacked the Zarya there just to make sure Mirror would have a really tough time, but that is huge. That's a graviton surge for Mirror gone to waste, and I think the Gladiators realize they have to try and double down here. As soon as Mirror's brought back into the fight, though, they lose space. BQB is on a running riot, going from one tank to the other, like that Grim Reaper and all the doors. He has removed some of the beefiest targets on the Gladiators, and Mirror's going to go down for the second time.
Everything thrown in there, though, by the Gladiators, and then you get nothing. As this is what I was just talking about. As no, that fight starts. They use all their ultimates. You got a minute now off of the clock. Yaki with another EMP here, able to basically farm an EMP up every single fight on the defensive end, especially against a Roadhog, right? You can farm up the Roadhog for an EMP rather quickly. What, maybe like one really like beefed up attack from the Gladiators that can come through, 2 at best. Gladiators are really fast point A, but didn't take advantage of that snowball.
It looks like Kevster and Yaki just revealed each other there. So oh my! BQB gets close, and Kevster's head gets turned into pulp. Now Gargoyle wants to push forward a little bit. He has to be careful of the charged up Zarya, as he can do nothing to stop that damage from the charged particle laser. And Space goes down again. A BQB is 7 final blows, by the way. 1 death for him. My God.
Yeah, they just do a good job of just avoiding the Diva there with the Zarya. The Zarya kind of looking for that Diva.
Yeah, so I would just love to laser cut through that mech. Force a desuit. Gargoyle gets desuited early. It's pretty bad news then, as Birdring kind of gets to get much more value out of a high ground position, knowing that he can't be chased by the Diva or shut down by the Defense Matrix. Oh, okay, nicely done, Space. There you go. Spy checks and reveals Yaki, who's forced to translocate out. He'll just replace the translocator, and he'll go again. Oh, never mind. He got revealed once more by Kevster on the point. Now, do we hack bomb? Oh, he gets shielded to prevent the hack. That's very clever from Mirror.
Yeah, they're trying to get a tick on the point, at least, with Bob. That'll be an EMP from Kevster, as Mirror now all charged up, as they're trying to keep Fate alive to use the Primal, not able to do so.
But Bella, Mirror, now it's going to be the self-destruct. Mirror got a good charge there because that bomb shield had to be burst down to get the hack on him in the first place. Soundbarrier now goes onto a couple of players. BQB instantly gets caught, and Mirror is at 90 charge. Space's whole hold cleans Chris up, and it is a hack attempt, an EMP on Mirror, but he doesn't care. He got all the energy that he needed to. Now he's going to put it to good use. Yaki is removed, and yeah, the Primal Rage isn't going to keep Fate alive much longer at all. It's Wrecking Ball stall for Gargoyle, but he once again returns to the periphery. And the Gladiator, oh, that's rude. That's rude. You know what's going to happen here.
Right before they're about to take it, we have a pause. So we'll get an idea of what's this about. So I didn't see anything in the chat.
You can literally wait a tenth of a second.
I know, right? What, they're at 96% in terms of taking point B. We'll have to get an idea of what went on here, but the Gladiators potentially, well, potentially, I mean, it looks like they've killed everybody on the point. So it looks like as soon as we come out of this, they should be able to take it.
Oh my god, Kevster, you're such
looks
a troll.
like Kevster is the one who needed it. His teammates are probably like, what are you doing? Like, we're about to take the point. So it looks like we'll be able to go back into game shortly. It looks like some of the players on the Gladiators are saying that they're good to go now. Once we get in, this should be a point B take for the Gladiators with about like 50 seconds in the time bank.
Bear in mind as well, Kevster is not playing from the same facility as the rest of the Gladiators, right? He is still back in his home country, so there might be a reason for that, playing on high ping, but oh wow! Oh, who would have thought that they would finish the round after, yeah, well, I mean, there it is. Nicely done. Even Brem would have predicted that result.
I bet you I know what's going to happen when we start again.
All right, tell me. Lay it on me.
No. I meant that's what Bren would have said.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, he would have done that for sure. Yeah. So
much better look though from the Gladiators, right? With the Roadhog in play. They looked way more competitive, obviously, with this kind of composition than they did mirroring the dive. So now we'll see how Florida adjusts to this on offense. We know what the Gladiators are going to do on defense. They can't really run much else with Mirror in the lineup in the tank role. So you kind of have an idea of what they're going to run. We'll see how the Florida Mayhem adjust the composition to battle it.
It seems like the nano boost was quite a big deal there, because even though Mirror gets EMP'd, you see that Florida really trying to put pressure on him. The damage reduction component of the nano boost really helps Mirror stay alive through the EMP, and then as soon as the EMP sort of expires, which is probably not too much longer length, he can give himself a personal bubble and just sort of charge it up with a bit of a damage boost.
Yeah, I was going to say, for Florida, you can go... I think you could have actually ran the dive, but maybe run the Zarya instead of D.Va for the Winston with a bubble. Or you could run something completely different, kind of like what we're seeing now. Potentially Fade on the Zarya with Gargoyle on the Roadhog, but nope, we're going to go right back to where they were at.
Slight twist here.
Yes, Gainam Jin comes in on Ana. We'll see if he stays with the Ana. We see the Moira, but for now, looks like, nope, yeah, he'll go to the Moira. Maybe you're just trying to hit a biotic grenade at the start. Maybe you can land like a sleep on the Sombra, just checking at the top.
And that's maybe why we heard the Hellfire shotgun for BKB going off, because he was trying to make a full heal the enemy Zarya. Yaki, yeah, he has to get out of there. And he'll now have to walk back through a choke with plenty of spam damage, especially coming in the direction of space. So Gargoyle there flashes the defense mate briefly so they don't get too low in health as they approach. Okay, they don't wrap all the way around. That's a pretty... This is not very subtle, but the hack on space is perfect. He can't take a breather to stay alive any longer when he's burst down instantly. The trade's there. Gargoyle trying to rally the rest of the Mayhem to deal with the Zarya of Mirror, who's getting more and more charged up. The fight continues now, and space is brought back in. A long fight seems to benefit the Gladiators, who have a Mercy in tow, and a Zarya that's getting very nasty.
I was going to say, it benefits Mirror on the Zarya, getting that high charge, and then also they're able to bring the Roadhog back to life, as Roadhog is such a large HP target. You know, the survivability with to take a breather. You have two very strong healers in terms of Ana Mercy. You can keep this Roadhog up forever, it feels like.
You return over 1,000 effective health points back to the fight, right? Because there's take a breather, which gives you the healing, but also the damage reduction component counts as effective healing. So it's a huge swing.
Looks like they accidentally got him there.
Okay, Fate's very low. This is forced Nicole Lessons here from Gangnam Jin. And, okay, Nanabu's on towards space, but Mirror is very charged up and has a Graviton Surge here. Everything's going right for the Gladiators here. They are playing this well. And now Space will go look for a clean up. Birdering, that is just stylish. We love to see a bit of that action.
This looks like a completely different team here. Yeah, on this map, being able to take advantage of the fact that the Florida Mayhem, they want to play the dive, they want to commit to it. You can play this Roadhog with the Zarya in play, and you can turn the tides. Kevster will come back on Tracer. He was on Sombra a little bit earlier. It gets picked off, not able to build towards that EMP. You do have Pulse Bomb plus Grab here as a combo.
Yaki just poking right now. There will be spy checking at that doorway. He's had to find a chance to sneak through, and he's done so. Snake! 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 All right, so we see space on the low ground. Mira got himself up on the high here, so the Mayhem is still trying to decide where the sort of the weakest part is. Yeah, the Gladiator set up here as well. And yes, it's Mira. They get the EMP. No bubbles for Zaya, and they get rid of him instantly. He also had a Graviton Surge, and that's just not going to be a factor unless there can be a Resurrect from Big Goose, and he gets him back into the fight. Big Valkyrie from the Goose, and this fight might be turning around. Shaz finally succumbs to the primal range here, but Space is going to take a breather. Self-destruct over the top, and Kepster is down. Space is forced to retreat now inside this building with the rest of his team. But the Gladiators still have numbers to work with. Yaki is taken down, almost as if he was revealed in midair. Space gets a close-range scrap gun shot and gets rid of him. Now Mira's back with 90 charge, but needs to be careful. He's not infallible, he's not invulnerable, and looks like Gargoyle wants to prove it.
It's just look how deep they have to go to get rid of the Roadhog. As, like you mentioned, it's like bringing like 1,000 HP back. Space just, you know, the self-destruct came up in the sky. It would have hit him. He just took a breather, just kind of like walked it off. It's really changed the way the game is flowed right now. So that'll be a point A take for the Florida Mayhem. So they do have a chance to get point B. Coming in, no EMP available. They'll have a Coalescence, maybe a Coalescence with a Death Blossom, try and follow that up. Force some ultimates out of the Gladiators, and then come back with maybe a better chance.
I mean, this could be way more unpleasant for Fate and Gargoyle to deal with. They could be dealing with Reaper Sombra, but the enemy team actually has the Ash Tracer, so that's ostensibly a little bit safer to dive into, with the exception of the Roadhog. When Space got hacked and had to get a nano boost immediately to keep him alive, and that's perfect! Gargoyle can't fade away while he's in Coalescence, but will it be enough? Gargoyle's self-destruct only claims Birdering, and Space and Mira able to stand tall on the point. Forced Wraith Walk here from BQB. Mira steps back, grabs the point, just to make sure.
That's exactly what you wanted, though, if you're the Florida Mayhem. It's what I was talking about. You know, maybe use the Coalescence and the Death Blossom, try and force out some other ultimates. They end up using a self-destruct as well. But look at that. You got out Pulse Bomb, Bob, Whole Hog, and Grab there. You come back in this next fight. You will have this EMP. You'll have Primal Rage, and you'll have a Sound Barrier of your own. So you're in a great spot to win this offense here if you're the Florida Mayhem.
1 minute 50 on the clock, and Yaki again doing his best. Metal Gear Solid. I think he just wants to hack on Space here if he can get it while everyone dives in the Roadhog, but he needs to hear where the will be given. Oh! My God! Birdering is able to get rid of Yaki awfully quick. The damage boost goes a long way there, and all of a sudden, Florida's plan comes crashing down.
That was so fast there from Birdering, and that is huge. That took what could have been a Florida Mayhem point take, right? Because they would have had Coalescent Sound Barrier here. Take a look. Damage boost
boosted,
from
by the way.
Sit down! Ooh, that is filthy.
Nicely done. Near the extra shot there as well. Obviously, damage boosted body shot isn't an insta-kill for Ash, but gets you pretty close. Sees that Sound Barrier now for the Mayhem. Gargoyle apparently didn't really benefit from it at all. No one really bothering Birdering right now, and Bob's doing good work on the point, but Kepster and Space have gone down. BQB starting to fire up a little bit here, but they need to deal with his vantage point. And BQB won't get the teleport off. Headshot before he gets there, but Mira and Big Goose are missing now. Yaki steps up in BQB's absence, and Birdering is forced out of line of sight. He doesn't have a safe angle right now, but here come the reinforcements for the Gladiators. With Shaz off the table, though, there isn't going to be much healing for the vestiges of this Gladiators team. Space tries to step up, take a breather, but he's not given enough space, and that Zarya bubble won't last for long on Kepster. Here's an EMP. Mira, no more shielding for him. Manually hacked after the EMP, just to be certain that the Zarya won't be lighting anyone up. 13 seconds remain in the round, with the Florida Mayhem come up with the goods and secure themselves extra innings with about 40 seconds separating these two teams.
Yeah, the Gladiators still more time as we go into the extra innings, but give some more time to Florida to kind of feel out this compositional change from the Gladiators, bringing in that Roadhog in the mix. I thought that was a nice play from Yaki to re-hack Mirror there. Towards the end, you already got him with the EMP, hack him because he has the Grav. Don't even allow him to really use that to great effect. They burn him down pretty quickly. So really nice play yet again from the Florida Mayhem Sombra player, and we'll see if they can get a fast offensive attack. Do you stay on this comp again for Florida? They probably will, just because, well, I mean, okay, so there you could switch off of it because you don't feel you're going to get the EMP within a minute, right? You can play Tracer, potentially, see if you can get like a pick off, or you can play Sombra and think that you can farm the Roadhog safely enough within the minute to get the EMP and contest. I think there's arguments to be made on either side.
We'll see how the Mayhem try and play this very truncated round. It'll be Yaki instead of the Sombra. Yeah, I mean, we would think that. Maybe they just don't really fancy their odds of getting an EMP within that allotted minute, and BQB wants to play a Widow just for pick potential now. Do the Gladiators suspect something? This is a little abnormal, I would say. But they spot a BQB now, and how do they respond?
I mean, well, look, this is going to be very difficult for Birdring, right? Widow has the advantage in terms of range here. And they're just trying to get pickoffs. This is what you're playing for. So, Florida, completely new look. BQB has heard Kevster here below him. Oh, Big Goose got to be so careful.
Fate goes down early, though, so that's space combining. And things are going pretty wrong for the Florida Mayhem here, Matthew. I mean, this composition relies on BQB getting a pick, but it is a correct and very astute observation the Gladiators make. They play inside the small room on point, the bunker. And the Mayhem cannot find an opportunity. Exactly what was required of the Los Angeles Gladiators in a dire moment. And they, right now, look to be holding on. Getting the full hold here in extra innings.
Yeah, Fate will get a touch. Doesn't really amount to much of anything, as here comes Gargoyle flying in over the top. He'll be dealt with quickly. But Space able to get that first blood, just a hook right around the corner. For a second, I was a bit scared we were watching from BQB. It looked like potentially he was going to take a Big Goose at the start, which would have been disastrous for the Gladiators. But you know, the stallers just keep coming in. No real threats here. Is everybody just kind of has to trickle out on the point one by one.
This is a big deal for the Gladiators now. I mean, they get to go on the attack, and they're going to have an extra 40 seconds to work with. That's a big deal. It's an extra team fight, which means they don't have to hedge everything on getting it right the first time. That might mean that they can think about trying to play, you know, Sombra.
Yes, I was going to say that they can definitely commit to the Sombra, right? Although potentially not a Roadhog on the other side to farm it, that EMP as easily. You can still play it here and still feel pretty good about it. I think they probably come out on it, at least to even just spot check at the beginning, right? Like, Kevster can run out, see what everybody's running, and then you can make the adjustments as necessary. Does Florida ought to go with Roadhog on defense? They play it there on offense, but it seemed like way more of a safe pick-oriented comp. Didn't really seem like something... Oh, no, we're going to see it again. So probably Gargoyle on the Roadhog here, yep. And they play it with the Zen. So think about how much damage you have here. Like, this is really kind of built around taking out Space, putting a ton of pressure on him, right? Discord Orb, the damage boost dash, Tracer running around. You have Fate on the Zarya, which is weird to see, considering Fate has always been a main tank. But now the line's ever much blurred between the two. This is where you can definitely run the Sombra if you're the Gladiators, for sure.
Will they opt to do that? Kevster likely maybe just saves a little bit of time for his team with the teleporter out of spawn and then switch off. So there's no Sombra to really mess with Space here. Obviously we saw a lot of those hacks coming in early, which means that Mayhem probably want to play more defensively here, and they don't want to take the risk by, you know, extending their Sombra forward to try and find those opportunities. Mira now knows there's a Zenyatta on the other side as he's hit with a Discord Orb. Purple Haze takes him back to better days, maybe.
See Space just walking backwards, just use it as body to just occupy space in the choke. Doesn't want to get headshot here, get a ton of charge over to BQB.
Mercy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's pretty vulnerable, like against like a Tracer, let's say, but we do know how they've kind of played, everyone's kind of played Zen Mercy in the past, where the Mercy just kind of latches on to the Zen, just hold on to him for dear life, so.
I mean, Chris also wants to damage boost BQB to get the most out of his Ash pick as well, so we'll see how he splits his duties. The Gladiators get this pretty safe position to play
They
from now. They have
swap
high
sides,
ground and low ground, and oh my! That was a good timing on the bubble, but a biotic grenade from Shaz. The boy don't miss. No chance for Gargoyle to heal back up. We have a 2v2 in the fight. Mira actually goes down to the Dynamite, and Space needs to open up an opportunity. There goes a Resurrect opportunity now with with the Mercy off the table. But Yaki and BQB are able to strike. Pretty critical blow, and it'll be time now for Florida to get these reinforcements.
The damage dealers for Florida go absolutely crazy here to be able to even give them a chance to fight this again. Oh. BQB with a headshot on the Kempster. As you have the reinforcements coming back now for the Florida Mayhem.
I can see the draw. Matthew Mira goes down. BQB removes him now. BQs can't get away from the Dynamite bomb. Used here. And BQB can sit safely back at the point. That hook did connect, but Yaki was able to break the chain by ducking around the corner to the left. And a Transcendence now for Gangnam Jin secures it here. Neither team able to come out with a W here on Volskaya, which means for the Gladiators, they are still on the wrong end of match point.
It is a draw, but it almost feels like a loss in a way. Like the Gladiators, like this is the first time they've really kind of shown signs of life in this series. They come out, they have a composition that's working. They have a lot of point control here towards the end of the game, but BQB and Yaki just go huge. They're able to win basically like a 2v4. Yaki on the Tracer and then BQB on the Ash. Just come up huge there at the end for the Florida Mayhem.
Frustration for the Gladiators. They had an extra 40 seconds on the clock, but weren't able to make anything happen with it. Just one tick probably would have been enough, or one more tick, should I say. We're going to go to a break now, ladies and gentlemen. On the other side is map number 4. It's still a must-win for the Gladiators. They're still clinging on for dear life, so stick around. And we'll see how it all goes down after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
What's up, everyone? It's Puckett back from the spawn room, and it's time for more Name That Player. We're going to provide you with 3 hints of which Overwatch star we're talking about. You got to tell me which player it is. Here we go. First and only player to exceed 4,500 career final blows. League best team fight win after the first elimination as Ash this season, and represents the city of brotherly love. You know it, you love them. That's right, it's Carpe. Shout out to everyone who got that one right, and keep your answers coming as we got more action coming your way right now here on the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs.
Hello? Hello? Where's my team? Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Sound is always changing.
Maybe it's your ear, Soji.
Your mom.
Wait, Crimzo, why does dude call you delicious? Sparkle called Crimzo delicious.
Delicious, baby.
Most nervous.
Yeah, I
Never
think so.
nervous.
What? Are you nervous?
No, I'm angry because Tuba always hack me.
We dominate them here, we break their mental. We'll boom. 100% will boom.
What do you mean?
What do you mean what I mean?
Most nervous. Never nervous.
Anubis?
Guys, do you think Los Angeles will win?
This match means so much to me. Really nervous. You gotta hype it up.
I'm so hyped.
Oh my god, please. Where did that energy come from, man?
Everyone ready? Yes, sir.
I'm not ready, I'm eating candy.
What?
My dog's eating her own
so
leg.
good at it. She's what?
Most nervous.
Boy, I'm never nervous. What do I nervous? You bully me, making me angry. Most nervous.
I hate grading fruit. I'm scared of every grader ever. Scared. What if I take off my fingertips? Or like my knuckles by accident? Ah! What's up, friends? Today I will be teaching you how to make my absolute favorite Swiss cookies. I think they're Swiss, I'm not actually entirely sure, but I associate them with home, so for the sake of this video,
they shall be Swiss now. Mailandele. They're technically more of a Christmas cookie, but I just make them all year round because every day is Christmas in my house. However, there will be, of course, a special twist because I like to be artsy, so I made my own cookie cutters and my own cookie stamps. I don't know, is that a thing? I think it is. I think that's how it's called. I'm not entirely sure. It's actually quite simple. There is not too much to it. It's pretty much like any normal sugar cookie you will make. So we're starting things off with mixing the sugar as well as the butter. That needs to get into a foamy kind of texture. I'm using a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer, or you can just go old school and actually whisk it by hand. I'm just lazy, so I'm not doing that. Grab that. We're adding the butter, which preferably should be room temperature. That looked gnarly. Why is it liquid? I pre-melted it a little bit, but that was kind of gross. I'm not gonna question it. I'm just gonna accept it for what it is. And sugar. So your first step is to mix 250 grams of butter at room temperature, so it needs to be soft and easy to mix, and you mix that together with 250 grams of sugar. That's right, we're not doing cups, we're doing grams. If you have a kitchen scale, please use it. Cups are just not an accurate measurement. Baking is science, and therefore it needs to be accurate. Now mix the butter and the sugar until it's foamy. Yeah, that's right, foamy. Alright, enough. Like, what I hate is this, the white bit, that 2 whole eggs. So technically it calls for the lemon zest of 1 lemon, but I really love them zesty and lemony. So this is just a sugary, buttery, lemony goodness. And needless to say that that's, well, that went everywhere. That's actually not that bad. Let's not add all the flour at once. This is 500 grams. We're now gonna add it about 1/3 or so at a time. Now, after the dough rested in the fridge for roughly 30 minutes, we're now taking it out, rolling it out with a rolling pin, and it has to be done on a floured surface because, I mean, let's face it, this dough is practically just sugar and butter, meaning it's gonna stick to everything in its mother. After you've rolled out the dough on a floured surface, it is finally time to cut your cookies. So I brought my cookie cutters. I do have a little tracer, a Reinhard, as well as a Senora. Cookies in Swiss we call Guetzli. Again, slow. Guetzli. You're welcome. I charge extra for my Swiss lessons. I'm not stealing dough, you're stealing dough. I'm gonna continue this now, eating lots of dough in process. Then I'm gonna show you my babies when they're done. Also, I wasn't kidding, I really do love lemons.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for bearing with us. I feel like by now, when you see the Zoe Bacon video, you know that something's up.
When we did the Call of Duty World League, and whenever something like we had like a delay or like a tech issue, we would always make Courage go out and do it. Whenever the chat would see Courage like just alone on the couch, everyone would freak out in the chat. They knew something was about to happen. I feel like the Zoe video has just risen to that level now.
I want to replace it. I love it, but I want to replace it with like POV from Custer's stream of Uwu All Stars 9 Loth of Raid. I think that would be an incredible little feature piece. But we're back. Some tech issues have been ironed out. So for those that are just joining us, we're up to map number 4. You'll notice the score is 2-0 because we had a draw on Volskaya Industries. In an unlikely turn of events, the Gladiators managed to hang on to stay alive in the series. And now we head to Dorado, another map, which is a must-win for LA.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a... okay, so coming out of halftime, yes, it would have looked unlikely the Gladiators win map number 3 or even like look competitive in map number 3. But because of their switch with Mirror now in the tank role, you have him play the Zarya, space on the Hog. It's a completely different game now, right? It just kind of some different compositions here that we did not see early on. We have a Genji sighting.
Defense Genji spotted. All right. All those nerd watchers out there can add that one to the list. All right, we'll see how this gets paired now. We were really hard on the Dallas Fuel for playing Genji, but they played it on attack on Numbani, so this is slightly different. Yaki, obviously, I mean, this is an incredible hero for him. Very good at Genji, but I mean, look, we're paired with the potential nano boost, so at least there's something to give the blade a little bit more oomph, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if this looks kind of like how Dallas looked, we're going to be pretty hard on this one as well. A Zarya Diva tank line here? So, I mean, double off tank, like, is a thing now. Diva can control the high ground. There'll be space now. Switches over to Roadhog here. So they have an idea of what's being run on the other side, so...
Be right back.
Zarya Diva also kind of cancels each other out because you want to take damage to Zarya, and Defense Matrix makes it a little bit harder to actually get energy charged up.
I don't know, I still don't get why Genji here, because we do know that Yaki is a really good Genji player, but we've seen him play the Summer really good in this series, and Tracer as well. And I think both of those heroes, you would argue, are more powerful than Genji right now. Genji here, like in terms of like verticality and mobility, maybe that's the case, but I don't know if it's really worth all that.
I mean, compared to Reaper, he's useless when he is hacked. There's also that fact to consider. Genji's strength is his mobility, and he doesn't have that when the EMPs come in. Space Force back here, Yaki getting some deflect action in. A Mirror's already gone down here. Now the cleanup can ensue, and maybe that's it. A little bit, you know, safer way to pressure the Mercy when they try to go for Resurrects here, but this is something you could do with a Tracer just as easily.
Yeah, and Florida will have a Nano Blade for the next fight. You bring
Gangnam Jin, dude.
Bring Fate
so
back.
Good.
So the Nano Blade could be pretty big. You have Nano Blade plus a Bob potentially here for the next fight. So Florida does get a defensive hold, playing the Genji here. Hero we didn't really expect much at all from in the playoffs.
And that's because some of his buffs, well, didn't stay buffed. We'll put it that way.
Bren would say it was a target nerf directly at Bren.
Gotcha.
Watching your back.
Well, so far, Yaki's trying to prove the haters wrong. Gungan's gonna play back. Here's a Nano Boost, so yeah, paired with the Dragon Blade, Yaki can get a lot more done with this now. By a lot more, I mean just killing more people rather effortlessly.
A lot of, yeah, that was a good use, I would say. Pretty much killing the entire other team. They have Shaz go to Zen here, so you'll have a Discord Orb. Maybe you can punish this a little bit more. Transcendence as well. Once he's able to build up towards it. But Florida, you know, you win a team fight by just investing 2 ultimates, 2 that you can build up rather quickly. So not a bad fight for Florida at all. I mean, there goes Shaz. Well, you don't have a shield, right? So playing against a damage boosted Ashe is going to be hard.
You're asking for it. I mean, you switched to Zen because you need a blade counter. But, I mean, Florida must feel good because they've definitely forced the Gladiators to pick a less robust support or less safe against this kind of composition setup. Bob trundles on through there as Fate was given the space he needed to get away. He's hacked, but he actually doesn't need his jump hack there inside that small room. He was able to get away from the whole hog anyway. The rest of his team not faring nearly as well, though. Kepta has gone down the last couple swings of the Primal Rage fists able to claim him. And Shaz, no shielding. He's a sitting duck for BQB to pick off. Mirror is able to get through that shield for the most part in space as bursting through. The scrap gun gets to both supports. The Florida Mayhem now looks like this setup's on its last legs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, BQB still picking up some kills, but it's not going to be enough here to get a hold as Space will bring in Gargoyle, try and get him low. You do have a touch here as Florida trying to make this interesting, but I mean, barring a massive collapse, the Gladiators should be able to get this.
The Yaki resurrects while the space has been created. That is literally a zoning self-destruct. Space over the whole hog, and yes, the entirety of the defense matrix won't be enough to cancel that ability out. So the Mayhem, they burn a little bit more clock, Matthew. They get the, pretty much into overtime. Now Florida might have to make a couple changes in Space. Well, look, he's wide load, sometimes needs to take a knee.
Look, Space, he kind of, you can see and feel a little bit of the animosity there. Now, earlier in the series playing D.Va, he was constantly hacked by Yaki, and now that he's able to get the better of him, letting him know about it. So Florida, they'll be able to hold this high ground rather easy. Nobody on the Gladiators can really access it at all here.
BQB saw a glimpse, I think, of Big Goose's wing above the courthouse, so he probably surmised that Bird Ring would be close by on that left side. Just a glimpse might be enough to help the Mayhem actually form a solid game plan here. So they have a Dragon Blade. Yaki, if he uses it, means he's probably switching. Otherwise, he'd wait for the nano boost. That will be a little while away, though, as Gangnam Jin's already been taken down. Resurrected by Chris here. Bird Ring trying to get away with the coach gun as Yaki bears down upon him.
Big Goose pops Valkyrie. He gets hit with a dynamite. Just wanted to live there.
Look at the cart. Look at the cart, Matt. So much progress gained while the Mayhem were trying to get Gangnam Jin back into the fight. Eventually, they're going to have to commit, but they're scared of dealing with this Roadhog Zen setup.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, the Gladiators don't have to contest high ground at all, right? They just have to have Bird Ring fire some shots up there, get some players weak. So much cart progress, relatively nothing here. Is Mirror with a grab, can't really kind of throw it up towards the high ground. Has to wait until some players drop.
I mean, Florida want to drop on the Zenyatta, but Shaz has another Transcendence here, or it has a Transcendence, should I say. Gangnam Jin lets a Biotic Grenade go. That's a problem for Space.
They're trying to force this high ground here, the Gladiators, to get the Mayhem to drop. But they're so slow. Like, they don't have a Lucio. They're so slow to try and get up there.
And Space probably doesn't want to use Transcendence here. I mean, without, Shaz, without Space, because that healing sort of goes to waste without a big body to benefit from it. So it brings Space back into the fight, but here's a nano boosted blade. Yaki, he's found his target. This will force the Transcendence from Shaz. The question is if he can get anything else. Oh, he got nano boosted and damage boosted. Bird Ring gets blown up inside the Transcendence, and BQB's brought back into the fight. The card's getting pretty close to the point now, but now the Gladiators are forced to back away, and there's only 16 seconds left. Shaz is removed. Fate with Primal Rage now is just doing some scouting as the Gladiators group for one last push.
You still have Space here. It's close to the cart. He may be at the one that's not anymore. That'll be a Biotic Grenade. Connects with him. No, take a breather health. That'll be the grab that comes through from Mirror. As you see the grab, you were never able to get a good use of it because the Florida Mayhem did a nice job of not being baited to the low ground.
No one there really now. Kevster has been removed. Shaz fades away from the carts. We won't be returning. Big Goose swings in from the top rope. It is sent packing stage right. And there it is. The Mayhem are able to hold the Gladiators off. And that must have been maybe a Biotic Grenade from Gangnam Jin. The damage boost and nano boost, is that enough to give you an insta-kill on an enemy inside of Transcendence? I'm not sure.
I actually don't know if Big Goose was inside of it. It looked like he was pretty far away or even behind the pole, blocking the line of sight from it. So it looked like
Bird Ring that went down to the Blade Slash, right? So,
oh, yeah. It looked like he was a little bit further away.
Either way, the Genji pick, you can see what is required to kind of make it work, right? Yaki sits on that blade for quite a while. He doesn't use it, so you know he's waiting for Gangnam Jin to actually build up a nano. And I would say the Gladiators, that one pick on Gangnam Jin gives them like half of that second part of the map of progress, because getting him back into the fight, the Mayhem just stand around on the top side looking pretty uncertain until Dorado has Nano.
Well, having his biotic grenades was huge, right? Because when the Gladiators are trying to rotate and try and get high ground, they have to come through the small choke, which they don't have a shield. So he's able to throw a biotic grenade, connect with like 2-3 players, and then they can't just kind of walk into BQB, putting all that damage down. Where getting them off the high ground was impossible. They didn't have a Lucio, so you don't have any speed to kind of get right on top of them. You don't have a shield to block the biotic grenades. So you see where some of that composition really falters here towards the second part of the map with the verticality in play.
Roadhog's a heal tank, not a shield tank, obviously. The only heal tank in the game. Yeah, I mean, that's what he is, right? They take a breather with the damage reduction. So, I mean, the high ground gives Ana's, defensive Ana's pretty more easier biotic grenades, especially when there's no shields to contend with. So.
I mean, Roadhog, when you think about it, in the traditional sense, is kind of like what you would imagine a tank, like just like somebody that's like large that takes up space and just soaks up tons of damage, right? Doesn't really block damage, but just soaks it up for the rest of the team.
That's right. It's still fairly lethal in the 1v1.
Yeah.
It's still quite deadly. So BKB looking for Kepster, who's playing around the church bell there. He does not want to present himself as a target, and we've seen Farah get a lot of success on this map, especially this part of it.
They really want to punish here, the Gladiators. You have Roadhog, Widowmaker, Farah, and Zenyatta in the mix with the damage boost available. Good luck, Fate. I mean, this is going to be tough.
Chris, if Chris can follow him in, I think Shaz can get blown up pretty quickly by this setup here. I think the Mayhem are fighting for position more than anything right now. And there it is. So we have Nano boost on towards Yaki, who won't be using a blade, but Mira, oh man, he gets blown up. There it is. Yaki had a lot of damage. I mean, he'd love to take the fight to Birdring now. There is a Zenyatta around that same corner, so he needs to respect it. But with Big Goose going down, there's no resurrect on towards the Roadhog. Mira spawns leagues away from where the action is.
Shaz will take out Yaki, but it'll be Kevster, I believe, use the rocket barrage, and you're not going to get anything with that. I imagine he's going to change here as we go to the second stage of the map. This should be the Florida Mayhem able to take it. They do have the blade available if it gets close.
Fate does well to stay alive there as Mira just made a beeline for him. Still quite low in a Discord orb. Currently he's on Gargoyle, who's close to a self-destruct. Valkyrie for Chris here, but the whole hug for Mira is going to push back, and Gangnam Din's taken down by Kepster. The burst ceiling is gone from the Florida Mayhem, and now the Gladiators come back into the fight. Blade for Yaki, unassisted, and the self-destruct claims Mira. That's a huge target. Fate gets brought back into the fight now, and Big Goose attempts to resurrect right next to the cart, but he is spotted instantly, and that's punished. The Mayhem flipped the fight around awfully quick. Did he get killed with that self-destruct on a target like Roadhog? What a huge pick.
The self-destruct there, so the blade gets one, the self-destruct gets one, but Chris using Valkyrie able to stay alive a lot through that, provide some healing. But another great combination where Gargoyle uses the self-destruct in a spot where they can execute a resurrection off, and they bring Fate back into the fight. Big turnaround there from Florida Mayhem, as it looked for a bit that was going to be the Gladiators making like a tremendous last stand hold.
3 minutes 45 on the clock now, so Florida working with a decent amount of time, and they switch BQB over towards the Widowmaker now. This composition is morphing before our very eyes. Yaki will have a nano boost next time he goes for a blade. And Big Goose has that Valk, so expect a resurrect. Don't get too excited about the first pick here. Self-destruct on towards Fate. He's given a nano boost now with the Primal Rage. Normally you want to stagger these a little bit, but Fate maybe thought he was going to go down anyway, so he fancied the extra health. Still hitting fairly hard, but ultimately not finding any big kills. Space being deseated is gargantuan here. If Yaki can get rid of the Diva, that would be massive.
You got a ton of value out of that Nano Primal Rage, though. Just look how much space has brought the cart. We're almost at the end of the map here. Now a blade could end it.
That biotic grenade from Gangnam Din basically just won the series there and then, Matthew. There was no way Mira could recover from that kind of scrutiny. And the blade from Yaki gets rid of space. Big Goose has no choice but to try and go for something akin to a resurrect, but looks like there's no bodies left. And the Florida Mayhem seal the deal. And they booked their ticket to the next round of loser bracket play. The Gladiators are vanquished.
Yeah, tough series for the Gladiators. I do wonder how they would have fared if they would have played some type of Roadhog variation the first two maps. Feels like they kind of gave a lot of that away with trying to mirror the Florida Mayhem, because the series became much closer after that with a draw on Volskaya and then this map being pretty competitive. But Florida still very strong. Now that comes down to the wire against the Valiant yesterday. I expect Florida to be a real problem for teams here in the loser bracket.
How much more legs do you think we get out of this Genji look? Was this very specific and specialized in its application now? I ask you this because we see it on attack and defense from the Mayhem here.
Yeah, so I mean, when you're going to play the Ana against the Roadhog for the Biotic Grenade, like one of the best combinations for the Ana is like Genji, right? His rate of fire does get nerfed. A map like this and a map like Numbani, though, do have a ton of verticality. So if you're not going to play around like EMPs and big follow-ups, which you're not going to speed boost your team directly into the Roadhog, and you're going to play like a Mercy to damage boost, maybe you play a character like Genji to be able to combo with the Ana.
So it's almost as the Genji is designed to give the Mayhem a good outlet for that nano boost, right? They're already going to be bringing the Ana to have the Biotic Grenade available, but then something else to make sure Ana is providing more value over the course of a round.
Yeah, it's a really good damage nano boost target, and with the nano and the blade, it forces the other team to use a ton of ultimates to live through that, right? So using 2 ults of your own to get like 3 or 4 out from the other team, you'll take that trade all the time.
And now, of course, our player of the match presented by Xfinity is someone who was incredibly disruptive over the first couple of maps to really set the Mayhem up. Yaki Sombra looked so good. I don't really think Space got to play the game at all. It was really rough for him out there.
Yeah, he didn't. I saw McGravy at halftime make a tweet towards Space. Like, I feel you, man. Like, it's tough out here. And early
Welcome
on,
to the
it was
Perma-Hacked Club,
well,
yeah.
Early on, it was the story of the series, right? When the Gladiators were trying to mirror that matchup, Yaki was doing a tremendous job getting all of those hacks onto Space. You know, denying him the defense matrix, able to fly, like, numerous amounts of times. So all those hacks really paid off. I felt like he really changed how the first 2 maps went with his Sombra play.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Yaki. Obviously, shows us the Genji in an otherwise pretty adverse environment on Numbani. Obviously, a little bit tough to get tons of value out of him. But look, I mean, when the nano boost was there, his blade was also there. Nice big 4K, I think he got there on defense at one point, and the Mayhem looked really, really solid. Yeah, they faltered a little bit, maybe uncharacteristically on Volskaya, as I feel like Assault was one of their better maps, but I feel like the Gladiators really rose to the occasion. Unfortunately, that kind of energy for a comeback only existed for a short time.
Yeah, I think what we did see from Florida, maybe like some weakness playing against like Roadhog-centric comps, but I think, no, you have some time to be able to work on that now, figure out how to play it maybe yourself at a really high level, and come back next week and look strong again.
And here is our updated losers bracket now. So a bit of fond farewell to the Los Angeles Gladiators now, who've had a really exciting season and unfortunately weren't able to go all the way. It's tough to get paired up against the Mayhem. So the Florida Mayhem advance here, and I believe they actually take on the loser of Atlanta versus San Francisco, who, by the way, are having their rematch 1 year to the day after that match.
That's
in which
crazy.
The shot got knocked into the lower bracket there. So that is pretty crazy. So, I mean, we could get a really exciting matchup either way, I think, based on that result. Obviously, the Mayhem want to keep advancing. They have to do so through the lower bracket, so they're running a veritable gauntlet of very tough opponents coming up. We have to say, I think whichever way this next game goes, the rest of the lower bracket is going to be just as exciting as the upper bracket, in fairness now. Florida Mayhem look really good. They look like they might have added the newest innovation to this kind of team composition featuring the Genji, right, with the Ana. We'll hope to expand a little bit more on that as the day goes. But for now, one of my favorite parts for Florida Mayhem victory is the interview with Yaki.
질문들 미리 타짜로 치고 있거든요. 원래 인터뷰 할 때처럼.
Oh, sorry, we're live. I'm sorry to cut you off. We are here. That's okay. We are here with Swing Chip and Yaki coming off a pretty convincing win against the Gladiators. So, MVP of the match, what are your thoughts on the match against Gladiators that just happened?
자, 이제 승리 축하드리고요. 이번 경기에 MVP를 받으신 이제 야키 선수, 오늘 경기에 대한 소감을 좀 알려주세요.
이제 어제 발리언트랑 2대3으로 안타깝게 졌는데 오늘 솜브라 이제 BQB 선수랑 솜브라 리퍼를 바꿔서 해보는 게 성공한 것 같아서 좀 뿌듯해요.
So he said, I was pretty disappointed with the 2-3 loss to the Valiant yesterday, but I think the Reaper Sombra switch today proved to be very effective, so I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about that swap. Is that something that the coaches decided or that you guys decided within the team and the players?
그러면 이제 그 리퍼 솜브라를 역할을 바꿨다고 하셨잖아요. 그게 선수들이 결정한 건가요? 아니면 코치님들이 결정해 주신 건가요? 아니면 반반 조금씩?
그냥 일단 이제 약간 좀 툭 삼아서 나온 말이었는데 약간 좀 신빙성 있기도 해가지고 한번 해보자 해가지고 한 것 같아요.
네. So you said actually just the idea kind of came up in passing during conversation, but then
Yeah, we lost swing chip. Alright, well, we might have to wrap it up there. I'm sorry, guys. We are having some tech issues, so we're just going to wrap that one up there. It was good to see Yaki, good to see him on the Genji, but we are heading into a quick break, and after that, there's some more Overwatch action coming.